So, hi, I'm just going to spend a little time showing you how I work on these drawings that I started during my visit to the safari park. These two sheets here were begun watching the sea lion training and also talking to their keeper about the importance of training and conservation and all the things that they do to maintain a good health in the animals as well as keeping them happy. So I'm going to take some water and just slightly dampen my paints, which I've also just recently sprayed with some water out of a little spray bottle like this, just to get the paint ready to use. And with a not particularly good brush, I don't want to be too accurate just at the moment. I'm going to put a little bit of colour into this view and just work a little bit on each sea lion, trying to capture a bit more form. I've got the line because when you have to work quickly drawing from life, I resort, it's important to resort to line only because there isn't really enough time to do everything else, such as shadow and detail and so forth. So this is really just a little bit of touching up in the foreground in this instance, when one of the younger sea lions, that would have been Roger or Louis, I can't remember which quite one it was, was coming up out of the water and responding to Ellie's call and her whistle, but with great pleasure. Obviously they really enjoy themselves, so I'm just adding these bits of tone also to the water a little bit and to the side of the pool so that it delineates the edge a little bit more clearly than I had in the initial sketch. So they're sort of coming up a little bit now. Obviously it takes a while because from one stage of a watercolour to the next, sometimes you want to leave the watercolour paint damp as you add to it. Other times you want it to dry before you work on top of it. Here's a little touch of red now. Ellie was wearing a cap, but with her whistle it was bright red. She was wearing a dark navy uniform, but the collar also had little touches of red from her shirt. So just pop those in. And I noticed too that her cap had the insignia of the safari park visible, which I will add in some detail a bit later. But you can just see it here in this cap, so if I leave it blank like that, I can add into it later. A bit of shadow on the top of Ellie's face there, and a bit of shadow framing her and the sea lion, who's looking up at her expectantly for instruction and possibly a treat. There's a bucket here that contained, I think, fish as treats. I haven't yet added any annotations to this drawing, which I will do later on the other drawing. You could see a few notes I'd taken during a conversation with Ellie as she was demonstrating the training to me. So I've got a bit of grass seed on there. Not sure quite why that's there. There's another bit of red I spotted early on up here. A spotty ball, which I think it was Arthur, the senior sea lion, who was miraculously somehow balancing the ball on his nose, coming out of the water with it in his nose and onto his stand in the display area. Still don't know what to call it really. It's like a stage almost. But he was just amazing. And I couldn't think how he managed to balance it. But after talking to Ellie, she explains that sea lions have the most remarkable whiskers, and they use them to navigate and to learn where their food is. Apparently they're so sensitive that they can, underwater, their whiskers will tell them not only where fish are, but what sort of fish they are. Imagine that. So now this isn't finished by any means, but if I hold this up, we're beginning to get a little bit more detail, and as I work into it over the next hour or so, the figures will become clearer. I did a little bit more onto this one yesterday, but again, there still needs more work on it, and will have more work. I also visited the giraffes when they were training, and this drawing is not finished yet, but it's had a little bit more detail put into it. But here you can see the X-ray board behind the animal's head. This isn't a real X-ray board, this is just a training board made of a bit of MDF or plywood, I think. But he's so used to it now that it, should the need arise, they can place a real X-ray board beside his head and have an X-ray without him being scared. Isn't that clever? So that's all for now, and when I do a little bit more work and finish a few more drawings, I will film those too. Bye.